Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today I'm going to be talking about the Legend of Vox Machina animated series, episodes 4 to 6. I'm giving my overall thoughts. I'm not going to recap them, I'm just going to talk about it. And episode 4 is where I'm going to start, obviously. And this episode was awesome. It had so much good, fun stuff in it. They were trapped in their castle and under house arrest because of Tal'Dore's sort of mind-washed brain thinking that they did a terrible thing against the Briarwoods. So they're trapped in their house with no weapons, and they try to make a little escape, but it doesn't go well because the guards also have a layout of the keep. So they kind of get caught trying to escape, and they get separated into some rooms. We get some good character stuff from Keyleth and Percy mostly, and a little bit from Pike. And it was at this moment where Pike was kind of like trying to find the Everlight that I realized she might not be going with them to fight the Briarwoods, which I thought they were going to do. I thought she was going to go with them to fight the Briarwoods because Ashley doesn't have to leave. So, a little strange that they elected to do that because they could have easily had Pike inserted to the story, but it also makes it more in line with the campaign. So that's okay. But we see Percy creating bad news, or at least the beginnings of bad news, while he's trapped with Keyleth in his workshop. We see Pike trying to speak to the Everlight again after her talisman or focus was broken by Delilah in episode 3. We get a little bit of an explanation from Percy about his family, about how they killed them all, and he wants revenge, and how they took over Whitestone. They kind of got accepted and then immediately murdered. So, fun stuff from Percy. We learned a bit more about the Aramente. I'm kind of looking at it as if I've never watched the campaign, because I kind of thought they were going to skip a lot of that, talking about certain small aspects of the Aramente, like not being able to go back until she's done. I thought they were going to kind of like skip over that, but they don't, and they do a bunch of small stuff like that. They talk about Vax and Vex leaving Singorn and kind of being out on their own, and a bunch of small things like that. They even talk about like the Rakshasa and them being in the Underdark at one point, which is funny. So, they do a little stuff there, here and there, to kind of give us more of the campaign story that they can't necessarily show, and I appreciate that. But after some time being separated from the total group, the guards start dropping outside by these mysterious shadow figures. And I'm actually really worried for good old Trinket at this point, because they've chained him up outside, which is bullshit. Why'd you take him away from his mom? That was ass. But some of the guards get ripped apart, heads flying everywhere, and eventually Vox Machina start breaking out of their rooms because they hear some commotions, and they meet up with what's left of the guards, and quickly 2 of those 3 guards are taken care of by these shadow creatures. Scanlan and Vex get hit immediately by one of these shadow creatures, and it's brutal. Black ichor, as Matt would put it, starts coming out of their eyes and their mouths, and this is a very bloody episode, and they cannot hit these things worth a shit until they ask Pike for some light, after they realize that fire kind of, they don't like fire and they don't like light. So they ask Pike, and she finally tells them that she can't really cast any spells at all. It's not working. So then Keyleth, after watching everyone begin to drop like flies, because even though Pike can't fight without her magic, she tries to help Grog, and she actually has a really badass moment where she kind of just sits there and lets the black shit come out of her and just like looks at the thing dead in the eye like, fuck you, I'm not letting go. But eventually they all have to drop, and Keyleth's the only one who's kind of like hiding, not really getting torn apart by these things, and she's able to summon a sunbeam, or at least I think that's supposed to be sunbeam, and renders these shadow creatures worthless, and they're able to all grab one and beat the crap out of them with just their hands. And I really appreciated that. It was very cathartic watching them get this sort of revenge, because they've been cooped up in this house, they've been taken, their weapons have been taken away, they've been deemed kind of like traitors by Eamon Taldore. Is that his name? That's not his name. By the Emperor Taldore. And, this is a nice moment that they all need. they all need to beat the ever-loving piss out of something. And they all get their chance. And my favorite is Percy on like he grabbed like the door frame and started kicking the thing in. That was cool. Grog grabbing the chandelier piece and hitting that thing's face in. It was very, very cathartic. And I like how the two people who, like Scanlan, the two gnomes, don't necessarily get one to beat the crap out of. They kind of help each other up, which is nice. That's back in like the corner of one of the frames. So eventually this allows like the remaining captain of the guard to be like, nah, there's something going on, and if you guys tell me you're going to go deal with it, I'm going to get you your shit and you can leave. So he does. And it's at this point where they tell Trinket to stay behind, because having that bear is going to be a mild problem. But I felt like they actually brought Trinket with them the first time in the campaign. So this is a big departure. And it tells me they might not get the Pokeball amulet, because that was kind of the purpose, right? Like, Trinket was able to hide inside that. If I'm remembering that wrong, that's my bad. But I thought immediately they started using it for that. I should look into if they do keep Trinket with them in the campaign or not. I feel like they did, but I don't know. Hopefully they still find the amulet, because that's a big part of Grog's best moment in the campaign later. So who knows? So, and it's also at this point where Pike tells them she can't do anything, she's worthless to them, and that she needs to go on her own to find her Everlight. She needs to go figure it out. This kind of upsets Grog, and I like moments like this for Grog, because he's a big, burly guy, but we all know he's actually just a big softie. So he gets to have a nice, sweet moment like this, and it picks up immediately in the next episode, too. So, overall, episode 4, very good, very fun, very much enjoyed it. Animation, again, is on point. I guess I should have said earlier that I'm not, going to refrain from big spoilers. If you're only watching this, if you've already seen it. So anyway, episode 5 starts off with Vax and Vax sneaking through the city, avoiding guards, trying to get to Gilmore's, and they get to the grate and they're like, oh shit, it's locked. And then a squirrel goes in and Keyleth is there. It's very fun. I didn't even realize Keyleth was there. That was fun for me. And then they go in, they try to steal shit from Sean Gilmore, which to me seemed weird. I figured they would rather just go talk to him. Right? Like, hey, we need help. You're a good guy. Help us. But they start stealing from him. He captures them. And afterwards, he's like, okay, take what you want. It's an IOU. It's fine. And again, this room is filled with so many Easter eggs. I can't even count them. It's awesome. It's a great little room of funness, and I love every second of it. Gilmore, the voice actor for Gilmore, is always awesome. He's done an amazing job for Gilmore. Part of me really wishes it was Matt still. Like, I think Matt should be certain characters still. Gilmore was one of them, but I'm okay with this guy. He's not bad. He's not terrible. He's amazing. He does a really good job at it, but he's just not Matt. And that kind of bothers me a tiny bit. It's like, Silas should have been Matt. Gilmore should have been Matt. And hopefully Thordak is Matt, like the big red dragon, when they get to the Chroma Conclave. Hopefully that is Matt, and they better make it Matt. I think he should be every major villain in, like, Shopkeep, I guess. That's just my opinion. So, he gives them a handful of things, but they have to pay a little bit for it, and which actually pisses Vex off. And they catch up to the rest of the group who got a cart, and it's at this point where Grog is trying to speak with Pike, because she said she would always be there, you can always talk to her, and he's tearing up about not being able to actually talk about her, or talk to her. And it's a good moment. Normally Vax and Grog are kind of at odds with each other, but this is a tense moment. They need, backup. And Grog says he's not worried about Pike. He's worried about the party without Pike, which I really like as well, because Pike is just invaluable to them. She is so important to the group, because without her, if one of them drops, that's it. They're dead until they find Pike, and even then Pike might not be strong enough to bring them back yet. So, fun little moment from Grog and Vax. Eventually, they get surrounded in a forest by these zombie wolf creatures, and a big fight breaks out. They immediately grab Scanlan because they want the book, and the Vox Machina slowly takes them out. They can't quite get the last one that's holding Scanlan, so the only option is for Vex to shoot an arrow with a rope for Scanlan to grab onto and let go of the book and basically sacrifice the cart and the dog and the book. This all happens. The rope still snaps. Scanlan floats up on Bigby's hand, which to me sounds like he could have kept trying to fight for that book. Just saying, Scanlan. The hell. Floats himself back up. They lose all of the stuff that Gilmore gave them, and then they turn over to find that the last wolf that had the book just gets up with its torso and walks off. And yeah, it's a minor L for them on that part. After that, we get a scene with Pike trying to figure out, like, she's trying to speak to the Everlight, and nothing really comes from it. She kind of drops from the exhaustion. We then go back to a camp scene where they're talking about their best kills, which is where the Rakshasa scene happens, which is where Keyleth talks about how some Duragar jumped at her and she pushed it into lava and then kicked it down so it didn't make any sound. Scanlan talked about how he was having some good times with a chick and then she turned into some grotesque monster. Grog bit something's tongue off and killed it. Like, fun little animated sections like this. Throughout this episode, we also get like little pokes at Keyleth and Vax's relationship. Like in Gilmore's shop, she got her finger stuck in a Chinese finger trap and he went over and helped her and they kind of locked eyes, and small little moments like that where the two of them are sparking their romance. There's a couple of moments for Percy and Vex, but not quite open. They have more of like a budding relationship, like they're hitting each other, they're fighting, whereas Keyleth and Vax more of like a stumble over each other kind of relationship, like, all awkward and weird, whereas the other two are very confrontive toward each other, like, hey, why you look like a bitch sort of thing. So at this point we start learning a bit more about Whitestone from Percy and the Sun Tree and how it's always got in bloom, and the Sun Tree is like the centerpiece of the town. And then they cut to the town, and it almost sounds like Percy's excited to see Whitestone when he's talking about it and the Sun Tree and everything like that. So then when he gets to the town and sees the Sun Tree is dead, it has left him. If his hair wasn't white before, it turns even more white that day, because his town is now shambles. Dirty, dead, literal walking corpses, dead, shambles. We also see earlier in this episode the Briarwoods bring in a family, who knows from where. They're giving them a better life, as they put it, that they won a prize, and the prize is to be hung from the Sun Tree, because of course it is, because they put a symbol of the Everlight on the little tiny girl with blonde hair. Yep, you've won a prize. You get to leave Whitestone forever. Yeah, Matt tweeted out that these episodes get dark, and by God did they. So episode 5 was very good. Episode 6 is a flippin' masterclass. Loved every second of it. They're dodging and weaving in between the town streets, making sure they're avoiding the big Goliath or giant zombies, which are fucking awesome looking. And we get to see the Goliath commander, like, kind of interrogating a dwarf resistance fighter. We get to see a bunch of these characters that were in the campaign, and we get to see more from them. Lots of good stuff. The objective of this episode is to break out the resistance leader, the dwarf, whose name escapes me right now. That's the objective. So they split off into 2 teams to kind of go in, one through the back door, one through the front door, and the front door group has a bunch of the resistance fighters with them to kind of make their way in. They're there to be the distraction to let the other team sneak in. But they actually do a really good job of sneaking their way in themselves with this large group, telling them, hey, stay outside. That large group does not obey this order. They go inside and eventually start breaking out into some fights. The back door cannot open the door. Vox Machina and the back door is a tale as old as time. They cannot open the door worth of shit. Vax tries 4 times, breaks the lock. Percy tries to find a window to crawl into, and he falls off the wall. Scanlan tries helping Vax, and they cut Scanlan's hand, and eventually they have to wait for dumb luck, where somebody takes a piss bucket and goes to dump it out the back, and he opens the door and is immediately killed for his efforts. Hardworking man, trying to get rid of everyone's piss bucket. They gotta kill him like that. So they eventually get in, and eventually they find their friend, and just a shit show breaks out. And Sergeant Stonemore, I believe his name is, he's kind of leading the shit show. And eventually Percy gets his opportunity, because that is one of the names on his gun. And as they're about to leave, everyone realizes Percy's not there. So Vax and Scanlan and the dwarf they went to rescue run to go find him. But Percy is going ballistic on this friggin' Stonemore guy. And just shoots the hammer he used to kill a handful of the resistance fighters throughout the episode. Shoots his arm off, shoots him in the chest, proceeds to blow him apart. His eyes turn black, and he gives him a very venomous moment before he kills him, saying, I wanted you to see my face, and tells him he was the one he was least looking forward to killing. Which, to hear that just before you die, should tell you that everyone else you're working with are fucked. They're screwed. It's over. They're gonna die. You're dead. You're not coming back. It's just good luck with that, bro. And you are lucky to be the first one not to, have to go through a bunch more suffering. So, lucky you. You're first. You don't have to deal with my crap anymore. Basically what Percy did. And then afterwards, Vax runs up and nearly gets shot for his efforts of trying to chase him down. Also, the name, starts to disappear on the gun before Percy pulls the last trigger, because the gun knows he's fucked anyway. Let's get rid of this name. And it's exciting. And he also learns that he is not the only remaining Derolo. He learns his sister Cassandra is still alive, and she is captured by the Briarwoods. And they burn down the prison. And as he's leaving, he's not pissed off or angry. He's happy and excited that he's got a family member still. And that's to go from such a contrast of, Orthax taking over and kind of making him angry, to seeing the childlike nature of someone who find out that their family is still around. It's quite interesting. And, Talzin is amazing, and we should all appreciate him for it. So, that's episode 6. Episode 6 is my favorite episode for sure. I loved the artwork, the browns clashing with all the main characters. Like Percy's blue, Vex's blue, like Grog's blue, Keelet's green. The brown kind of bounces off all of them and makes them stand out really well. It is the literal significance of hope coming to a dead place. Like, we finally have some sort of light to guide us, and it's these people wearing purple, blue, green, and one person wearing black, because Vax has to be edgy. But it is nice to see a thematic thing like that, where they are the literal hope coming in to save the town, and one of them is the old leader of the town. And I don't know, episode 6 to me was just really strong. The zombies look amazing. I thought Stonemore looked dope. Yeah. Everyone looked dope. The Goliath commander, whose name escapes me as well, is played by the Hound. The friggin' Hound. Like, come on. Critical Role has come so far with the people they know and the people they're able to get. Like the dwarf rebel leader, whose name I'm forgetting, I'm pretty sure he's Pippin. He might be Merry from Lord of the Rings. Like, these people, everyone, like, on my second viewing, I have to press pause to see who plays who, and I see some of these names and I'm losing my shit, because it's insane. The Hound, Pippin, or Merry, because I can't remember which is which. I'm pretty sure he's Pippin. I'm getting me wrong. Just a bunch of dope voice actors throughout this, and I'm excited to see who's next. I'm excited to see who is, I'm excited for the Briarwoods to kind of get their just desserts in animation form. I'm really excited. And I'm excited to see what astral projection looks like for Pike. Because Pike is someone who, when she showed up, kind of turns the tides of the Briarwood arc. But my question is, are they going to interact with the giant fortress where they find the amulet and the wolf and the armor. Are they going to do that? And are they going to eventually give Vex the amulet, the Pokeball amulet? You know, all these questions hopefully get answered within the next couple episodes, because I don't know. I feel like the Pokeball was such a big thing for campaign 1. You know, Grog goes inside of it eventually because he's pretty effed up and he needs to drop out of the sky for the final kill. I hope they get that Pokeball. That Pokeball is really important if I take a couple seconds to think about it. And it gives Trinket a place to go and hide when he starts losing to a bunch of dragons. So yeah. Honestly, the biggest shock to me in these 3 episodes, was Pike not going with them from the off. And I should have expected that once we saw her thing crack in episode 3. So, excited to see if they continue to do that with moments where Pike would have been there or wouldn't have been there, and if they keep her or not, and who knows. I think it's weird that they're doing it that way, because now they have Ashley 24/7. They don't really need to do that, but they did, and it keeps it in line with the actual campaign, which I really appreciate. And yeah, I love this show. It's amazing, and I can't wait for next week when it comes out. Does it come out on the Thursday or the Fridays? Because I noticed it came out like a day before I expected it to for me, but who knows? Maybe that's just my thing glitching out. Anyway, hope you guys all enjoy this, and I hope you guys have been enjoying Legend of Vox Machina animated series, because I know I have. I've watched every episode twice now. I'm going to watch them all again in order, like as they come out. I love watching this stuff. It's so good. See you guys Tuesday for my next video, which I'm actually going to put it out into the ether right now what it's going to be. I'm going to try to predict FCG, or predict what killed his group, what killed Dancer and the other automatons and the other people that were with him. I've been doing some research on one-eyed creatures, so yeah, I'm excited for Tuesday. See you guys there.